Hello, 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 and welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, so welcome to Tarot Spills the Tea. This one is the part two of Dorit Kemsley's reading, which was her home was invaded, and I asked the cards, I asked Spirit if it was real or for a storyline. Okay, so man, you guys, at the end, it needed a part two because it referred to her shadow self and what she needed to do. What I decided to do, and this is the reason why it took me um, a minute to deliver this to you guys, is because talking about and dealing with shadow selves, which sometimes is called the dark shadow, I take it seriously. So I take all of my work seriously, but I take it more seriously. So with that being said, if you're listening to this right now, you already know how long it is, but I can tell you, I'm not getting ready to rush myself on this one. I'm going to take my time. I'm going to explain things because the fact of the matter is, I was led to take this opportunity to explain your shadow self to you, what it is, what it means, and do it as like an educational moment using Dorit and her situation as a general example. Now, what I am saying will apply to Dorit, but the way that I am going to speak, which most likely is the same way I always speak, but I'm just letting you guys know there's going to be an educational undertone to this reading, okay? More than what already is, okay? So, and mainly when we get to the shadow part of it all, okay? That's where I'm gonna really buckle down and explain things and break things down. Now, in my previous commercial, I said that I didn't know if I would do timestamps yet. Because I honestly encourage you guys to listen to it all, because when I get to the part of your shadow self, the dark shadow, I am going to refer back to the cards that I'm clarifying and the clarifiers. So in order for you to get the full picture, I'd like for you guys to listen to the cards that I clarify and the clarifiers, and then I go right into the shadow cards. Okay, previously I said I would only pull these out for the runner's edition, and since then I've had to pull it out for Mia Thornton because her reading talked about a shadow self, and so this is my second time where I've had to pull it out unintentionally. Now, what makes her so different, which is part of the reason why I was like, I'm just getting ready to break this all the way down. With everyone else, it was one card, okay? Spirit told me to choose one card that related to their dark shadow relating to that reading. This time, you guys, it was three, okay? Three. So I was like, okay, everybody, including myself, need to what? Buckle up. All right, buckle up, Sagies, because I'm gonna take you on a ride. All right, come and ride on a fantastic voyage. Okay, all right, I had to get that out. But yes, we're gonna ride on this fantastic voyage. Well, I'm gonna break things down. I know I was sounding serious, but I have different parts of me that you'll hear. But buckle up for real, Sagies. All right, let's go. So, for those of you who may not know who I am, allow me to tell you. I am Indigo Sage, an awakened soul. I do have a spiritually based website at unapologeticallysage.com. You can also find me all around social media on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. All right, so go ahead and check me out over there under Unapologetically Sage. But first, Before we continue, what I need you all to do is bring your beautiful eyes to the bottom of your screen, no matter what screen you're looking at, whether that is your iPhone, your Android, your Cricket, your whatever screen, whether it's an iPad, a laptop, a notebook, whether it's your flat screen or big booty screen TV, whatever screen you're looking at. Bring your beautiful eyes to the bottom of it and look at that red bar at the bottom, and what it says is, this is for entertainment purposes only, and every single word is what? Alleged, and not to be used as facts. So anytime that you see this red bar at the bottom, the sentence inside applies. Okay, so what you're looking at right now is the start of my very quick summary of part one. Okay, I've got to do a quick summary of part one just to let you know how we even got here at part two. All right, so here we go. So first, I heard it from TMZ that DoritKemsley from The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills had a terrifying home invasion. In this home invasion, allegedly, the robbers, and so far as I know, they have not been caught, but the burglars had put a gun up to her head. Allegedly, it was three of them, and the second one told the first one who had the gun up to her head, just off the bitch. Anyway, so that was the story, and I'm gonna be honest, I questioned it. I questioned it because it conveniently fell, right in time to give her a storyline, which she has lacked ever since she got on the show. And so naturally, with my type of personality, I kind of questioned the authenticity of it all. Luckily for me, I have the gift of being able to read cards. So I brought out the cards and did a tarot spills of tea on it. So that's part one. That's the reason why I even went into looking into Dorit's home invasion. Okay. As I do tarot spills the tea, I am simply a card reader. I ask spirit questions and I follow spirit's instructions and where spirit takes me. And I'm gonna tell you something. 99.9% of the time, I tell you guys everything that spirit tells me. There is that 0.01% where I'm like, ooh, I think I need to stop. And I think I've even said that in a couple of videos. Anyway, so in this one, they led me to do a reading on, because I thought it was just going to be my regular, one spread, one reading, one and done. It wasn't. Obviously, because we're here at part two. So they even had me split up the very first one, which was asking about how she felt in the moment, which made sense because I told you guys I had my suspicions, on whether it was true or not. So they led me to do a spread on how she was feeling in the actual moment of realizing that there's a home invasion and a weapon involved, where she overhears someone saying just off the B. So I did that. Now, if you want to hear all the details, of course, you can go to part one. I will attach that to this one. Let's keep going. And after I get done speaking and explaining this, you are more than welcome to pause and read, because I will not be reading this here right now today. Okay. This is another part of the video because Teddi Mellencamp, who is a former housewife of Beverly Hills, her husband, it is alleged that he's the one who hooked up the security and everything, that seemed to have failed, allegedly. So I do a whole background check on him, okay? Got as much information that I could. I provided all for you. It's very interesting. Plus, I explain exactly how his security system works, because I'm not sure if we all understood how it worked. Because just because someone says that they're in the security business and, oh, he hooked it up, it doesn't mean that he's going to get an alert on his iWatch or Android Watch or whatever, Apple Watch or whatever, that, oh, her home is getting broken into right now. Let me tap it and, go over the speaker and say, girl, you all right? He interestingly enough doesn't have a darn thing to do with that part. But his company, if it's true, what everything points to, that he's the one that provided the package, so to speak, allegedly. If that's true, he still failed. He still failed. Okay, big time. So I go all into what his role was in the burglary, if it's true. Let's continue. Finally, in part one, Spirit led me to ask, how does she feel right now in this moment? Okay, I did that, and here is what brought us to the requirement of a part two. Okay, because I'm never gonna leave you guys hanging. I am never. Well, I know they always say never. But it will never be my intentions to leave you guys hanging, which is why I also invite and wanted to remind you guys, and I'm going to take this opportunity to do so. If you have any kind of celebrity, it does not have to be a housewife. I do anybody, okay? If you have any kind of celebrity on your mind who you want me to ask a question about, go ahead and drop that down in the comments, all right? Don't forget to like and subscribe. Now, so here's what we ran into the requirement of having a part two. When I got to the last two questions of this reading with how she feels right now, I used my personal deck that I channeled and was guided by spirit, and there's over 100. I think there's like 100 and, oh my gosh, might be 160. Anyway, lot of cards I channeled by spirit, had them professionally done and everything, and just to preserve the I don't know how to say it right now, because a lot of words are, sometimes when a lot of words come in my mind, it's hard to choose one and spit it out, and so I go silent. But anyway, just to preserve my cards, I don't show the front of them. Okay. That's 90% of the times I don't show the front of them. Anyway, so you will see the back of them, but okay, don't think you're going to be missing out, because what I will do is explain it extensively. Because the good thing about channeling spirit and creating your own deck is that you understand it so much to where you are so extremely well versed in using your own deck. So, her last two positions in the right now spread that needed a lot of clarification, and again, like I said, led us here, is the what's to come and the energy influence. And so that those are the two cards that we'll be focusing on today. Okay, that's what we'll be focusing on. Those are the only two that I clarified. However, I just have a feeling that this reading is still going to be lengthy, because you know what they did to me, what Spirit did to me? Gave 3 shadow cards when there's usually just 1. So I've got to break all of this down. And the clarification for each of the card, it's 2 clarifications for each of the cards. So, like I said before, I'm taking the opportunity to make this an educational moment. This message completely 100% applies to the part 1 video of DoritKemsley and her home invasion. However, I'm also using it as an opportunity to break down and help everyone listening to understand your shadow self. All right, so let's just get started. And let me tell you guys real quick, the reason for the advisory of mature content is because the deck that I use for representation of the dark shadow sometimes can be gruesome. Sometimes they may be sexually themed. Sometimes they look normal. But in general, I try to throw that up there, the advisory sign, because I never know which card I'm going to get and I never know how a person might take to it. Okay, so just a general warning, and you know, this time, like I said, it's three cards, and it's up to you guys to decide if it's gruesome or if it's overly sexual or whatever. I can't just come out and just say, "Oh, it's not offensive. It's okay. It's nice. It's a decent one." I can't say that because they aren't. All right, not in this session. They are not. So the advisory for the mature content is needed in this session. However, those three cards are at the end. So what we're getting ready to go into right now, sure enough, is clarifying her last two positions. So the first position, which is the fifth position in the original reading, but the first one to be clarified, because I'm only clarifying two positions. Only two of them needed clarification. Okay, what's to come? So this was her original card. Walking away. Just fabulous, honey. This card means this departure was a long time coming. Someone left the situation in a grand way that will not be forgotten anytime soon, if ever. This is a person who has given their all and got zero in return. This person is fed up with the lack of respect. This person is fed up with being taken for granted. This person was pushed into loving themselves due to feeling none. This person walked away effortlessly without looking back because after all they've gone through, they know they deserve better. This person has no regrets. This person may have done the back and forth before. Someone is counting on this behavioral pattern, but they mean business this time, which is why they are walking away feeling just fabulous. That pattern is broken. Don't count on this person's return. Go ahead and free yourself because they did. All right. When this card shows up, it means someone needs to move on and start new, and that is the person who was left. So since this reading was asking about Dorit, this is how Dorit feels. Now, usually this card shows up in a love reading, and when it's not a love reading, it changes it to a love reading, okay? Because this ain't talking about no home invasion or burglars. Although, as I explained in the first reading, how this took a turn, it does have to do with it. And here's what I think, okay? Because we're told that the fact is that PK was out of town, out of the country, okay? And Dorit was left there home alone with her children. She has two small children, both under the age of 10, all right? I think 7 and 5, but all this, the ages are alleged. I'm not sure. I don't keep track of her children's ages, but I know that they're under the age of 10. And they're quite adorable. They're little, cute little buggers. Anyway, that was my impersonation of her fake accent. Anyway, so if you think about it, since what's to come seemed to have taken a turn, and it seems like she wants to separate, my first thought was we don't know how often he may be out of town. And again, they're in Beverly Hills. It's not like he just went to Vegas or something and he can come right back. He was out of the country. Okay, so it's going to take time to get back. All right, I flew across this country from the West Coast to the East Coast and I thought I was about to die. Anyway, so out of the country, it's not like he can be right back. So imagine if he goes out of the country a lot for business, because they said he was out of the country for business. That's fine. That's fine and dandy. However, if you do that for your business, like I said, we don't know how often that's done. That may be getting on her nerves. That's number one. Number two, let's also imagine how appropriate this may be if she left the security of the home completely up to him and trusts her husband to deal with it, handle it, arrange it, make sure that it's all in place, since he's out of town, tends to travel out of town. Of course, She put her trust in him to take care of all of that. And of course, she is supposed to feel confident and comfortable that her and her children are safe, especially the little children. It ain't even like they was of any age to help anything, if need be. Which it was weird to me that they didn't hear a thing. I don't know what kind of alarm system she has that whispers. Anyway, so out of town, failed at securing the family, and there could be many other things that we don't know about because, she could be hiding it because she may feel like I have to put up this facade. All right? Either way, I wanted to clarify since this card turned everything. Up until this point, everything just it stayed on how she was feeling about the home invasion. And then all of a sudden we get this lovers relationship card for what's to come. It needed to be clarified. So come along with me and let's sage this out. So the first clarifier for walking away just fabulous under the position of what's to come is buy now, pay later, even better. This card has a simple meaning with the possibility of complication. The simple reason someone likes to spend a lot of money while shopping without spending the actual money. In other words, they want the items now and they aim to make payments. Or worse, they manage to get others to pay for their expensive lifestyle. It's not a mystery there on how this applies to Dorit. It further explains a more complex look into this card shows the possibility of a cheater in the relationship. Someone who indulges in the company of others behind their partner's back without a second thought as to the consequences to come. If this card clarifies a business reading, a partner may be irresponsibly making deals unbeknownst to the other. Either way, this card represents an immoral lifestyle. So this card has a couple of directions to go in, and this is clarifying walking away. And in the walking away card, it suggests that this person may have had the behavior of back and forth, which, threatening to leave but then not leaving, threatening to leave but then not leaving, threatening a divorce but not going through, you know. But that card, the card that is clarifying, is saying that they are walking away fabulously because at this point they're working on self-love and they know their worth. This is the first clarifier, and I think both of these points may be correct. She could have been staying for the money and he could have been cheating. Let's look at the next clarifier because each of these had two clarifiers. So this clarifier it's very simple, okay? And the thing about it is when this one comes out, even though it's simple and it gives instructions and everything, which I didn't post or whatever. I only give those in personal readings. Like I said, I never leave anybody hanging. And this isn't leaving you guys hanging. It's just that if I have opportunity to talk to Miss Dorit, honey, she'd have the instructions. But anyway, moving right along. This card, as simple as it is and as light as it appears, it's actually heavy. This card is entitled Sage, Salt, and Sand. It suggests cleansing will elevate your healing process. Cleanse your home, body, and mind. Dorit, needs to focus on self-care. And then, as I just said, this card suggests cleansing for the benefits of renewal of the mind, body, and soul. And then in personal readings, I go into how to do that. Anyway, it's a heavy card. When this comes out, it's like you need to wash everything, even your drapes, okay? Everything. from the inside of you to your physical environment. For all I know, depending on the reading, you may even need to change up your route to work. Okay? That's what makes it a heavy card. Like this is the least amount of words that you guys have seen my cards provide, but so far it's actually the heaviest. So let's keep on going to the next card to be clarified. Next up, we have the energy influence. All right, energy influence card. Blinging in the name of Jesus. All right. So before anyone may think about becoming offended because I said Jesus, let me tell you right now, I do believe in God. So that's what we're dealing with. However, it can apply to any higher power or community that you may or may not belong to. With that out of the way, let me say this. This is not actually a religious card, okay? I use that as figuratively speaking just to give the person the help them know what I'm talking about. Okay, that's first and foremost. Although in some cases it is specifically talking about a member of the religious the religious group, okay? But more often than not, it's not directly speaking of a member of the religious group. So I don't want anyone to get hung up on that. Moving right along. This card means that someone may be misrepresenting themselves or misrepresented. Someone could be using funds in a way that others may not feel is appropriate. Most importantly, it could point to the fact that someone believes funds are being misappropriated and that they exude accusatory energy. Or a person may simply be too flashy or materialistic for someone's taste. Okay, so if there's confusion there, allow me to clear this up before we get into the two clarifiers. So basically, someone may be misappropriating funds. Okay, that means stealing money, or spirit sand pyramid scheme. What is that thing where you like you're taking money from someone and saying you're gonna like invest it or use it for this, and then you borrow money from someone else to pay them back, and you just keep on doing that kind of thing. That's what spirit gave me to say as an example of misappropriation of funds. And then they're having me point out being too flashy or materialistic for someone's taste. For all we know, and this is all alleged, but PK could be misusing funds and misappropriating funds or misrepresenting himself. Well, actually, I think they both are misrepresenting themselves. Okay? Both of them. Dorit and PK. But the reading is about Dorit. And the first thing out the door was misrepresenting themselves. Okay. And that's the energy influence. The energy influence. It suggests that they're living in a fantasy world. And so here's the thing as it relates to this card. If he's misrepresenting funds and he's watching his wife be extremely flashy and materialistic, he may not like it, which is probably where this little tidbit of gossip came in at. Okay, now, I had heard this a couple of years ago and didn't think nothing of it, but it resurfaced recently. The gossip, what they been saying out in them streets, the streets been talking. Like, oh my gosh, Candy's mama. I cannot remember her name right now. Oh my goodness. She said the streets been talking. All right. They're saying that Dorit, all them little outfits, because she be on the IG modeling. I guess she thinks she's an IG model. I don't know. Anyway, I know she be doing it. She be doing the IG modeling. Okay. The reason why I don't know. I don't know if she's getting paid for it, if it's a hobby. I don't know what that lady is doing. I don't follow her. However, it's been said that she flashes those outfits and takes them right back to the what? Store. Takes them right back to the store. Take them right back to the store. Take them right back to the store. What? I didn't know. Okay. Sorry about that music interlude, but they've been saying that for years, and then the rumor died down, and then it recently came back. But I don't think these people got the money that they say and act like they have. To which the thing about it is, just fix it, Jesus. Like Faye just said, fix it, Jesus. Okay? And Candy's mama name is Joyce. Bam, right when I said fix it, Jesus, it came to me. But obviously they do have some kind of financial problems. Camille came on saying that one of her best good friends, they owe him, and to which Dorit got so pissed. I think Dorit was gonna fight that night. Then we saw they went on vacation. Dorit got chased around the pool because a woman was saying that her and her husband owed her some money. So it's some misappropriation of funds for sure. Let's go ahead and look at the clarifiers. Now, if it wasn't interesting already, here's where it gets really interesting and direct. Do not run. Your shadows will follow you. Your shadow selves are the dark parts of yourself that you project onto others because you don't want to admit they exist. Due to the fact that once you admit to them, you must fix or work on them. However, what you neglect to see is that by denying their existence, you can and will only attract people in your life that will illuminate those shadows. That is, until you manage them. But first, you must admit to having them. Otherwise, they will never, ever, ever, ever leave you. Okay? To which later we'll talk about whether or not there's a possibility of them leaving you. This card says, now more than ever, you must work on your shadow self, whether you feel prepared or not. When this card shows up, chances are that you don't feel prepared to take a deep dive into yourself. Your guardian angels are pushing you to find your support system. So all of this has been triggered by the home invasion, okay? It's been triggered by the home invasion. And like I said in part one, almost losing your life will push you, catapult you, okay, for introspection and self-examination, okay? It will do that. And so this card is saying she needs to face her dark shadows and that she's not prepared, but this is the process that she's going through. And this is the energy influence, which I always refer to the energy influence as the roots of a tree, okay? So all of the previous cards before, which if you guys go to part one, you will hear all of the cards before. But all of the cards before it, it's a 5 card spread, but I put in a bonus, which is right here what we're looking at, like the energy influence, because those are the roots. And then, of the tree. So you have the trunk, the branches, leaves, flowers, fruit, all of that. But they all start at the root. And that is why I think it's so important to discuss the energy influence. When I do any spread, I pay attention to the energy influence and I share it. Some tarot readers don't. And the reason why they don't is because a lot of times, well, I shouldn't say a lot of times, sometimes the querent denies it for whatever reason. Everybody has different reasons. None of them are healthy to deny how you're truly actually feeling. It's not a healthy thing. But just know when you get a reading from me, it'll be brought up. We're going to talk about it because those are your roots. And until you get the root, until you address that root, you're not going to have fruit. Okay? Well, I just made up that at the top of my head. Until you address the roots, you can't have good fruit. All right. Anyway, so this is talking about her needing to deal with her shadow self, which is, why I had to bring out my shadow deck, baby. Okay. So let's go on to this second clarifier. So the second clarifier for the energy influence is I love you to the moon and back. This card is yet, this is funny. This is another simple card. Just like when I just told you guys that the salt, sage, and sand was really simple, but the heaviest card to come out, that still remains true, okay? But here we go at another simple card with a one sentence explanation. This card represents true and genuine love. What's wrong with that? Nothing. Nothing at all. Let me tell you where it got a little heavy, because as I was shuffling to clarify the energy influence, this card dropped out. It dropped, it didn't pop. And I'm not trying I'm not trying to rhyme. I'm getting ready to tell y'all the difference. For me, when they pop out, that spirit saying, here, I can't even wait, here, like the energy is so strong, let me just, here. You don't even have to shuffle anymore. You don't have to put the cards down and cut. Here's what it is when they pop. Sometimes they pop, and sometimes a tarot reader can choose that as their method of shuffling and selection. You can ask them to just show you and allow them to pop out, and it will happen. But then there are some times where you're going too fast, or well, for me it's like when I'm going fast. Okay, I can't speak for everybody, but they'll drop. Sometimes they will drop and not pop, and that's my difference. The words that I'm saying when I explain tarot to you guys, it's tarot according to Indigo Sage Tarot. The words that I'm saying, some are very generalized and some are specific. What I'm talking about right now, they are specific to me and my style. Okay? Each tarot reader has their own style and ways that they communicate with spirit. Okay? So I'm talking about me, myself, and what I Indigo. So here's what was unique about this card and this reading is that it dropped, and it dropped first before it was the first clarifier. It was before the one I just read. The one I just read was about the shadows. Do not run, your shadow will follow you. Girl, they on your heels, you better face your dark shadow. Okay, that card had not come out. I hadn't even, no clarification card came out yet. But this card dropped, and it landed perfectly in position, as to my table, but it was reverse. Okay, and I stared at it for a while, and I decided to put it back, randomly in the middle of the deck and just keep shuffling because it dropped. It didn't pop. And then here's the thing too, in case a tarot reader may ever feel unsure, let me tell you something. Because I did this a lot at the beginning when I first started years ago with tarot. I wasn't familiar about the popping and the dropping and the this and the that, and I would just put them all back because I liked a very clean cut, and they will still come out. If that's the message, that's the message. No matter how you shuffle, cut, do whatever, it will still come out. Okay? Okay. Because I'm gonna let you know a little bit more about me. Gosh, I hate trying to say that. Well, I shouldn't say hate because it's not hate, but I do not like trying to say this word because I feel like I always get it wrong. But I'm clairsentient as well, which means spirit sometimes directs me with heat. I can spread a deck, have it face down, and feel the heat they will guide me by heat, and the card that I should pick will be hot to me. I don't know if it's hot. My hands are heating up right now as I'm trying to explain this. I don't know because I've never even asked anyone else, ooh, can you feel this card? Is it hot to you? Like, I've never done that. So I don't know if anybody else can feel the heat off of a card, when I'm doing it. But I do know I'm not the only clairsentient person, okay? But I'm just describing this process. The reason why I'm describing this process is because in the beginning of me learning tarot and, filling out and discovering my gift, because not everyone can do it. But I'm not saying I'm the only one who can. But all the four clairs, I have them, okay, and beyond. Anyway, I'm saying that to say this. When the cards drop or pop and all that kind of stuff, and you put them back in the deck, and you know how I just now said, no matter what you do, if that's your message, that's your message. No matter how you choose them cards next, that will still be the card. There was a time, and this is all I'm going to say, I'm not going to go into more detail than what I already have, but where I was getting the same card and I tried all different methods of choosing cards, and one of them was even the heat method, and it was still the same card. And no, the card wasn't, I can't even really explain, like, You just feel heat. It just gets hot. You don't touch it. Like, I don't even touch the card. I just hover over. And for anyone who may be thinking in their mind, maybe it was warm because you just had it in your hand. No, that wasn't it at all. That wasn't it. Anyway, so I don't want to bore you guys with the details. I know sometimes people love my details, and sometimes people probably fast forward past them. I'm still just going to be me. I told y'all this was going to be a long one because I'm not going to rush. I like to explain things when needed. This reading needs it. Point is, this card had already come out, and it came out reversed as it pertained to the energy influence, clarifying it, coming directly after the blinging in the name of Jesus, which represented misrepresenting themselves and misappropriating funds. That I love you, I truly love you, I genuinely love you was in reverse. So here's where it gets very interesting. When I put it back in and did the cards the way I normally do, the immediate card was do not run, your shadows will follow you, referring to her desperately needing to deal with her dark shadows. The next card that came out was this one again, but guess what? It was upright. It was upright. It's upright as it follows the card that tells her to deal with her dark shadows. And there's a point to that. Her love cannot be upright and be fixed until she's in a position now where she must deal with her shadow self. With that being said, that's the perfect intro to dive in all the way in to all these shadow cards. Okay? And I'm going to break it down. I'm going to break it down. I'm going to break it down because we all have shadows. We do. So let's break it down and sage it out. Coming right up. Okay, everyone listening, we have come to the point where I have the opportunity to ask you guys to please click the like button and the subscribe button if you haven't already. And be sure to share the video and ring the bell. When you ring the bell, it allows you to be notified anytime I drop a video. Okay, and just a reminder, my second channel is already built, and so I will separate my tarot from entertainment, from pure entertainment and tarot. Okay, so everything that has to do with tarot will stay right here, right where you guys are. Anything that has to do with entertainment is going to go over to the channel, which, like I said, is already created, but it's Laughing While Logic. And just a little sneak peek of an announcement. I am going to be giving away some items. And I want to do it before Christmas, okay? Just as a Christmas gift and an appreciation to you guys. And I'll be giving away some items and a free reading, all right? So you've got to stay tuned to find out what it is you need to do for that. And I'll tell you right now, I will tell you right now, it has to do with subscribing to the new channel, which, like I said, is currently available. It's called Laughing While Logic. But anyway, I'll give you guys all the full details when the time is right. Let's continue and allow me to break down these dark shadows. Okay, Sagies, welcome to the shadow zone. Okay, so I'm getting ready to explain briefly the shadow self. And as I've said previously, sometimes it's referred to as the dark shadow. These names are interchangeable. What is the shadow self according to psychology? The shadow is the side of your personality that contains all the parts of yourself that you don't want to admit to having. It is at first an unconscious side. It is only through effort to become self-aware that we recognize our shadow self. The first card out is Bride in a Cage. This is the first dark shadow of Dorit. Bride in a Cage. It's the image of a gorgeous white wedding dress shining through the neon gray artificial light of the evening. It is worn by a mannequin with a disassociated skeleton head. It seems like a happy place, if not for the light. The mannequin stares at the outside while a purple laser grid cage holds it in. Okay, it's a little off-putting, but I am just gonna say it. I was not surprised when I saw it, and this, oh, I'm getting tingles right now. Not to mention, she just came out with a bridal collection, Bride in a Cage. So, first things first, it represents denial. This card asks, did we die waiting for the perfect day, or were we never alive? When we put the good of our life just in our expectations, absent of required effort, for manifestation, the present is easily dismissed, longing for the dawn we expect to arrive. Okay? I feel like I've said a mouthful. Let's break it down. Going back to the first card, walking away. This person was pushed into loving themselves due to feeling none. The clarifier after that, buy now, pay later, even better. Putting issues aside, expecting they will solve themselves. Card after that, Sage Salt Sand. She needs to focus on self-care. This Bride in the Cage relates to all of that. Okay, being pushed to love yourself. It's her being in denial for far too long, and she's coming out of denial. Asking, did we die while waiting? So she's in denial that she's waiting for something that never arrived. It never came. It never happened. It never manifested. She didn't put the energy needed into it in order to manifest, whether that's a happy home or actual money to live the life that she's living, whatever it is. She's in denial of the fact that she did not put forth the effort, and she just expected it to just all line up. And it didn't, okay? She was stuck in her imagination of what she viewed as perfection. And actually, it's very interesting. I'm getting the feeling that both PK and Dorit views Dorit as a bride in a cage. Now, this reading is for her. It's not for PK. So, ultimately, Dorit sees Dorit as a bride in a cage, but I feel like he does too. That's just me. The term shadow self was made popular by Carl Jung. He saw it as the uncivilized and primitive side of human nature. He believed once our shadow self, dark side of ourselves, is fully accepted, only then can we be whole. That revelation allows us to realistically work with our shadow self, which is healthy and more beneficial than the way most people lie, deny, repress, and project their shadow selves onto others. Carl Jung was a Swiss psychiatrist and psychoanalyst who founded analytical psychology. So here we are looking at Dorit's second dark shadow that came out. It is Naked Before the Stars. First, let's talk about the imagery. You guys know how much I love it. This is a beautiful curvy woman who wears lacy lingerie. One is a black corset, and she kneels in her full sensuality under the lights of a million artificial stars. That in and of itself reminds me of when Dorit came down the stairs when they were all on vacation in the most recent season, and it looked like she was wearing lingerie, okay? Or as I just said, lingerie. And Kathy Hilton was like, "Oh, that looks fabulous on you. Why would you waste that on us girls? Why would you waste that outfit?" And then jumping to how it says, under the lights of a million artificial stars. So she's living in Beverly Hills, rubbing elbows with stars. And it's funny because that's a dig at them. It says artificial stars. Okay, Tara will read anybody. But the point is that she's ultimately feeling like she's being judged by all of the stars that she's around. And so she's trying to do things to make herself compare to whatever it is that she imagines is their standard. Its main focus is acceptance. There is no perfection that is worth enough. There is imperfection as proud as the heavens. What do we see when we look in the mirror? Is it something with acceptance or something we are a slave of? What do we compare ourselves to? The idea we had when we were younger or the eyes of the people who surround us? Even if beauty is not deep, when we shine, our world is brighter. But we will always feel naked in front of the stars until we accept our reflection. Okay, get into it. Naked before the stars. And in my opinion, that is whomever or whatever you believe the star is. You will always feel naked before the stars. That is until you're able to look in the mirror and accept what you're looking at, your reflection. And the first thing I thought of when I saw this was, wow. Like each and every card, I was like, wow, that's her. Wow, that's her. Wow, that's her. Because she bases like her existence, it seems like, on her, the way she looks. So, number one, as it relates to projection, when this card says Dorit will feel naked in front of stars until she accepts herself, a perfect example of this is when Dorit told Garcelle she was bullying her in order to be relevant. Now that's a classic example of projection. In the face of Garcelle, who is confident as a star with relevancy, Dorit projected her insecurities that were exposed in the presence of Garcelle, when she's in the presence of Garcelle, thus making her feel naked. The way that the insecurities from the dark shadow manifests itself when they're repressed is to pretend like the person who they feel is bringing it out and bringing it to the surface out of them. They're going to pretend like that person feels that way. So as she was saying, Dorit was telling Garcelle that she's being a bully in order to gain relevancy. She was in reality speaking about herself. And because that is her shadow self that she's in denial about and not accepting, she felt like the best thing to do is to pretend Like Garcelle has it. Therefore, nobody will notice that that's actually me. People project all the time. And now I'm breaking down the reasons why. Here's one of them. We are talking about their shadow self, their dark shadow. So I'm sure, I am more than positive that some people who are listening to my voice right now have been accused of a certain behavior that you know good and darn well you don't have, you don't do, you don't exude, you don't practice. That's not you. You know that. But perhaps you were a little bit puzzled as to where did that come from? Because you know you don't do that, or you know you don't feel that way. But there's someone telling you that that is so, that that's true. Guess what? That's projection. That's them. That's how they actually feel. And for some reason, you bring that out of them. They don't know how to handle it other than pretending like it's you. And that's because they have not managed their shadow self at all, probably at all. Okay, this comes from denial and repression. So, let's move on. One more thing I'd like to say about this type of behavior as it pertains to repressing the dark shadow of oneself and projecting it upon someone else. The main reason for that is because they get to despise it out in the open, that behavior. They get to despise it out in the open before anyone has the chance to see that they actually harbor those feelings. Okay? So they feel like if they shun it, then no one will know that they do it, they have it, or, that it's them. It's just like when a liar says, "Ooh, I hate liars. I despise liars. I don't want to be around nobody who lie." And then later you find out they are the biggest liar that you know. Same thing. Most people may deduce the shadow self as negative. This is not true, depending on what you do with it. The shadow self is rather what you yourself perceive as dark and weak about yourself, and therefore needing to be hidden and denied. But this depends on your own perspective on life and your levels of self-esteem. Get all the way into it. Okay? Welcome to the dark shadow of obsession. All right. Let's look at this imagery. So there's a sullen face with hair entwined with bark and thorns. That face stares at a blank, clear, empty, round mirror. It is obsession. Are we surprised? We're talking about Dorit. Obsession makes all things lead to one. They dissipate into one until only that one thing remains, ultimately creating denial of everything else. Our perception is tricked as many become one. Whether it's an idea, a person, or objection, it gives our life meaning. It makes us feel awake by numbing us to the reality of our world. Obsession is a drug. In big doses, it kills. You better get all the way into it, okay? And understand what I'm saying today. So, as this card relates to blinging in the name of Jesus, someone misrepresenting themselves as it relates to money, Dorit is obsessed with the illusion of living the good life. Because of that, she's been suffering in silence. She's as fake as a wooden nickel. They say she returns all of her IG model clothes. That's the wooden nickel if that's true. As it relates to don't run, your shadow will follow you. This has been her biggest denial yet, that she needs all of the material, big brands to be relevant or even on the show. It's a pigeonhole she may have inadvertently placed herself in, but has no idea how to get out. She may have stayed with PK because of those reasons. She may not know who she is without PK and the money. However, I believe this is all an illusion, and her near death experience has challenged her to accept her dark shadows in order to shatter her illusions. Will she, though? That's the question. Now, the card referencing To the Moon and Back. That's about true love. This card appeared twice. First reversed and second upright after the card telling her not to run from her shadow self. Only then will she be whole, and only then can she fully love anyone else. Okay? These cards clarified misrepresenting oneself with the bling. All of this weaves a basket to place her object of obsession in, okay? And if you notice, this card speaks about the person holding a mirror, but they refer to it as an empty mirror, okay? A clear mirror, empty. She had other cards that referred to looking in the mirror and asking, "What do you see?" Okay? And that's the card that was saying naked before the stars, looking in the mirror. We know she likes to look in the mirror, but the question is not about if she likes to look in the mirror or not, but first of all, do you like what you see when you look in the mirror? Or better question, honestly, who does she see when she look in the mirror? Because it's illusions. She surrounded herself with illusions and just repressing how she really feels and what's really going on with the hopes of it just resolving itself and everything just magically coming together. And when you look at it that way, it's so wide on what is actually the thing that she has repressed. But we can say honestly that these cards hit on her. Her shadow self with these cards, honey. My shadow cards, well, my cards, period, never miss. But the shadow cards, when you go in deeper, it just always opens up my eyes even more to these people's real issue. Not like it's any of our business, but you know, we here, okay? We already here, okay? It's like y'all jumped in the car with me and we rode to a place. You can't get out now. We here. Speaking of, let's continue. So, speaking of going along this ride with me, you guys know, my sages know that at the end sometimes I'll hit you with a poem, a quote, something, something, little something, something. And as usual, it's all about healing, okay? Yes, this is for entertainment, laughs, and fun, but at the end of it all, I would like for you guys to take something uplifting away from it. And this session was a little deeper because I used Dorit as an example, but I want you guys to be able to take away some tools to manage the shadow self within you. With that being said, we are close to the end, and I could not choose just one quote. All right, so here we go. And also, I wanted you guys to know that there's a lot of literature and education out there strictly about, how to deal with, identify, manage your dark shadow, your shadow self. So if you are so inclined, please look into it. First quote: The rewards are profound. Shadow work enables us to alter our self sabotaging behavior so that we can achieve a more self directed life. I embrace my shadow self. Shadows give depth and dimension to my life. I believe in embracing my duality, in learning to let darkness and light peacefully coexist as illumination. All right. All right. Take all that in, soak it in. And last but not least, this is a quote from the man who coined the phrase and terminology of shadow self. He says, to confront a person with his shadow is to show him his own light. Once one has experienced a few times what it is like to stand judgingly between the opposites, one begins to understand what is meant by the self. Anyone who perceives his shadow and his light simultaneously sees himself from two sides and thus gets in the middle. Okay, okay. So soon, and I want you guys to have a wonderfully, wonderfully blessed week. Okay? Remember, the energy that you have when you walk into the room will directly affect the energy that you receive. So start your Monday out right. All right. Be blessed. Bye.